So we began a new series last week called The Way of Jesus. We're trying to figure out a way in life. And last week I shared a story of when I was out in California and I took on the challenge of trying to climb Mount Shasta, a gorgeous mountain in the northern parts of California. And we got a whole crew together that went. And I went with a plan, and we had gotten all prepared, and we started out at the trailhead, and what was supposed to be a 1 hour walk to base camp at Horse Camp ended up being a 4 mile or 4 hour journey of kind of wandering through the wilderness. And we eventually did make Horse Camp after we came all the way back to trailhead and climbed it a second time. And man, I was exhausted and thinking, oh, I don't know if this is going to work. Now we're supposed to climb a mountain the next day, and I feel all the way spent. We can feel that way in life of going, we've lost our way, and man, how can we move forward? And so I kind of went, you know what? That's all right. That's all right. We made camp. You know, we pitched our tents. You're camping outside. There's no luxury out there. You had to carry all your gear, and so it wasn't too bad. Had a nice dinner and got to bed early because I was already tired, and we were going to be getting up at 2, 3 in the morning because you have to start so early so that you can ascend and make it by noon and be heading back down the mountain because it's be a treacherous mountain that creates its own weather, and you can't be up there overnight. And so in the morning we woke up and it's dark, so you got the headlamps on and you're getting all together. You don't have to break down your gear. You're just taking a day pack type of a thing, some food and so forth. Snacks are going up the hill, some water and whatnot. But of course, you've got to have your special equipment now. Where the hike up to Horse Camp was just kind of in boots and you're just kind of wandering through the wilderness there type of thing. Now you are ascending through the ice and the snow and you have to wear the crampons. You've got a pickaxe, you got some rope, you've got some additional things, and you have heavy gear on because it's going to get colder and colder as you ascend the mountain all the way up to the top at 14,000 feet. So while you've kind of set aside some things, you've got some new equipment on, but I was like, all right, we're going to do this, and we headed out. It's dark, and we just walked kind of a little bit from that second blue dot. It kind of has that angle to it, but we just kind of went sideways, a little bit uphill, and walked for probably about a half an hour to get at a point at which we were ready to ascend the mountain. And this is about that spot. And I've got to say, after a half an hour, my thighs were on fire. I'm like, holy mackerel. Like we've gone uphill some, but we haven't started to ascend. And now you stand here and you look up, and it actually wasn't quite this bad for me because this guy is standing here in the middle of the day, it seems like. For me, it was still dark. The sun wasn't up yet, and you couldn't really see all the way up, but you could tell that, okay, whatever I've just done is going to get seriously going up and up. The inclination is going to become rather treacherous, and I was like, man, now what am I going to do? I just spent myself 4 hours yesterday in a half an hour. All this training that I had done seems to be worthless. I am already spent, and now I've got hours of really intense climbing and walking ahead of me. I have to say that I have some deep appreciation for Buddhism. I think it has some really smart things to say. And they package it in really nice ways of, the Four Noble Truths, and we're not going over all that type of stuff. In some ways, I think our modern America is more Buddhist than it is Christian because Buddhism, their Four Noble Truths, are all centered on going, how do we get rid of suffering? Suffering is the bad thing. And I'm telling you what, I've never seen a culture more dedicated to going, how can we make sure we are comfortable? And any sort of discomfort or suffering is a bad thing. And we will spend whatever money we need to, whatever effort to avoid suffering. In that way, our modern culture is more Buddhist. They're concerned with suffering and getting rid of it. And then they have the Eightfold Path, So they got kind of this nice little thing here going on. The Eightfold Path is kind of like, you do this by right thoughts, right action, right intention, some good solid stuff that we would go, hey, we can find some agreement there, right? But it's all really about kind of going, look, I'm going to drop some wisdom on you, and I hope you can work that out. I'm going to give you a plan. This is how you get to the top of Mount Shasta. This is the preparation work you need to do. And I hope it works out okay for you. But as I found, sometimes you get lost in life. It's more than just having a plan. I can even have some appreciation, maybe even for Islam. Islam has 5 main pillars there of things that they're going like, man, this is what you need to do to make it in life. Some of these things we might even sort of agree with. It looks like the series we're going through. So the first one is to have the right profession of faith. They believe Allah is the only true God. Muhammad is his prophet. They talk about prayer 5 times a day. If you're in a small group, you're going to be talking about prayer. They dictate it 5 times a day. You've got to do it. You've got to pray in the right way. You've got to bow in the right way. You've got to face in the right way. They talk about charity, almsgiving. We just did a series on that, right? Tell the rich in this world to be generous, be willing to share. So okay, yeah. They talk about you need to go on a pilgrimage once in your life to Mecca, to go there and see that holy spot. We don't really kind of have that. And then they talk about fasting in the month of Ramadan. And these are 5 core things for them of going, some of it looks similar. We're actually, if you're in the small groups, you're going to talk about fasting, I think, at one point in there. So this could look a lot like what we do, but really at the heart of this is stuff that you kind of do for God. This is the word Islam is about surrender. And we would kind of go, yeah, we want to surrender to God. Maybe that's a shared value as well. But in one sense, they do these things, one, because they're good, but we really do them for God. We're trying to show how surrendered we are. We're trying to show how that we have measured up to who he wants us to be. Both of those religions have some good stuff about them. Everything's not bad, right? But there's something different about the way of Jesus. We heard it at the very end last week. He doesn't talk in these ways. He doesn't go, look, I got a 5-step plan for your life. I've got the right map. I've got the right practices for you. What did Jesus say that we looked at? He said, I am the way. I am the truth. I am the life. No other religion, whether they agree with this or not, whether it irritates them or not, Jesus says things that nobody else ever says. Muhammad never says this stuff. Buddhists never said this. Mahatma Gandhi never said this. He said, I figured some stuff out. I got some good plans for you. I can show you the way. I can give you a good map. But nobody ever had the audacity to say, I am the way. It's rather a bold statement. This is what sets Jesus apart for us, of going, this isn't just another religion. This isn't just another teacher. He is doing something special here when he makes this type of a claim. And we see it work out in other parts of his teaching, other stories that the disciples shared. Matthew records this one teaching that on the surface is going to look kind of like, oh yeah, we're familiar with this, and it's a passage we use for kind of comfort. But Jesus is doing this audacious thing again. It comes from Matthew 11. He says, come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you, and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. There's something kind of incredible about this. It's a bit subtle, is that Jesus isn't going, look, I've got the truth for you. I've got a plan for you. I've got the laws that will make you right. I've got the fivefold practices that if you do these right in your life, it will fix you. He doesn't say any of those things. What does he do? He offers himself. Come to me. This is a rather bold statement, unmatched by any other teacher, any respected high-level teacher that we would say in the history of humanity. These are the smartest, these are the most enlightened. Nobody says stuff like this. Come to me. I'm the answer. I mean, just look at, you can see this, right? He's radically referring to himself. It's not just come to me, I've got the answer. It's come to me, I am the answer. I will give you rest. My yoke, learn from me. I am gentle. My yoke, my burden. See, this is the radical thing here. Paul got it. He talked about it in Romans 8. He said, look, God gave the Jewish nation the law, our Old Testament. He gave us the right teaching. He gave us the wisdom of God. And it absolutely failed. As surely as all the effort and preparation and research that I had done didn't save me from wandering for 4 hours when I only needed to walk for 1 hour. And now I'm here at the base of the mountain going, my thighs are on fire. I had all the right ideas, but it didn't work. Paul says the law failed because it's not about the ideas. It's that we're the broken things. And we need something better than just a good idea. And so Jesus steps into this going, the law was good. The rules that God gave you are good. But you're still screwing up, you bunch of dumb bunnies. And that's me too, right? You can't get your act together. You need something more than just a rules, a set of plans. You need me. See, this is that radical notion of Christianity. And so Jesus goes, I offer myself, come to me, all you who are wearied and burdened, and I will give you rest. That's what the way is. That's what this series is about. That's why it can't be, here's 5 steps to fix your life. There isn't any 5 steps because you can't do it. You need something more, and Jesus is that. And so he's offering us, he calls out to us. He's not just talking about those that are just kind of a little bit tired, that, like you have spent yourself. You have prepped, you've prepared. Maybe you've gotten lost, you've gone that road that I did and came back at the beginning and went, holy mackerel, is this as far as I've gotten? Now I've got to start again. Maybe it's kind of gone well for you, but you're still looking up and you're like, holy mackerel, am I going to ever make it to the top? He says, come to me. He is the one. He's the way. He's the truth. He's the life. It's of interest. So we looked at that statement by him in John 14 saying, I am the way, the truth, and life. You know what he said just before that? Just a few sentences. He said, peace I leave you. Buddha could have said that. Muhammad could have said that. Peace I leave you. I'm giving you a good plan. I hope you do well. But Jesus once again goes, no, it's my peace that I give you. I do not give you as the world gives. So do not let your hearts be troubled and do not be afraid. I am your peace. It's mine. And so this way that we are going on is not about a set of practices. set of rules. We're going to have practices. I mean, that's what the small groups are exploring. But if that's all you're getting is going, boy, I'm gonna find out a practice I'm gonna put in my life and it's gonna fix things, you're wrong. There's nothing that could ever do that. This is really about getting in touch with Jesus and who he is, offering himself. And you know what? That's not all that surprising. Because when you look at the scope of the Bible, it has always been about this connection. This is one of the unique things about the Bible. Of all the good books that are out there, all the kind of the holy books, the religious books, the moral books, the Bible has this theme of going, it's about the connection. Remember, can you go all the way back to the beginning in the garden? God makes everything. He makes the garden. He makes Adam and Eve. He puts them in there. He goes, all right, attaboy. And then there's this great line in there. You know what's coming next? And God came in the cool of the evening to meet with them. That's an astounding statement. Your jaws should be dropping going, oh, maybe it's about this, maybe it's about that. God set up this perfect situation in the ideal before anything is broken, before we screwed up, before we've gotten lost. He went, man, I made it all. And now I just want to be with you. Can we walk and talk? Plus, I just really love God because he came in the cool of the evening, not at the heat of the day, meaning that he's a northerner. Just saying. Okay? Right? So we know we're right. Yeah, he's got this connection. And then when everything goes kind of all sideways, when he starts over with Abraham, what does he say? Walk before me. Walk with me. God has always been about this relationship and this connection with us. There are rules, there's truth, there's righteousness, but it kind of is all centered in on this of going, I made you to be connected with me. And when Jesus steps onto the scene in this long story of God, he's going, I am the fulfillment of the law, of all the longing, of all the things that we've been pursuing. I'm it, because I'm the way, the truth, and the life. Come to me. Let my peace come on you. And so this is about a pursuit of him and that relationship. Now, I stood at the bottom of that mountain. It was dark. I wasn't quite sure, but, I muscled up the willpower. I'm like, I did it all. I've spent the money. I spent all the preparation. I got to try. And so we start going up there. The hillside gets steeper and steeper. And it don't think of this as going, la da da, I'm going for a hike here. This is like you're taking massive steps up and you are moving body weight. Things I learned in physics, right? We calculated of going, let's have the kids run upstairs. And while I was the slowest going up the stairs, I was always justified because the professor would go, yeah, but Noel did more work because he was bigger, right? He wasn't as fast, but he did, I was around 300 pounds at that time. That's a lot of weight. For most people that I was carrying, they're going right up ahead of me. I'm like, well, carry somebody else because that's what I'm doing, right? And my legs are burning and they're on fire. And all I'm going is, my thighs are going, I want rest. There's a bed. If you just turn around, No, go back to the bunny flat, right? You can have rest and peace. And sometimes we think of that of going, the role of God in my life is to bring me comfort and to give me relaxation and solve my problems and just kind of settle things down. Just make it stop. But it's interesting, that's not what Jesus offers us, is it? When he says, come to me and I will give you rest. He's not going, here, please sit down. Don't worry about anything. Don't do anything. I got it all. You don't have to do anything. No, the radical nature of this, he says, come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you And we're like, yoke. That's not something we talk about nowadays. We're not an agricultural thing. He is talking about something that would have made perfect sense to them. He's talking about a literal yoke, something that you would hitch two cattle with to go and plow. And we're like, as a good American, I'm not sure that we can go from I will give you rest to here's a yoke that is associated with work, right? You can't do that. I thought I was supposed to have a break. I thought you were supposed to make things easy for me. You were going to make things right. And all you're offering me is now this image of going, and here's how you're going to work it. Yet that's what he does. He doesn't tell us to give up. He doesn't tell us, hey, you know what? You don't have to try anymore. You don't have to do anything anymore. No, that's not the message of Jesus. He offers himself to us and he says, now come with me. Take my yoke. And he's not using this as he's the farmer, but he's like, come right alongside of me. The reason why you use a yoke is because you have two cattle. If you only have one cattle, you don't need a yoke. It just pulls. A yoke is talking about cooperation. It is talking about walking together, pulling together, sharing in cooperation, in rhythm with one another. As we walked up this mountain, this gives you a sense of how steep this is. Notice how the two have their heads kind of just down like this. I want to testify. That's about what it feels like. You're not up, I'm having a great time going. You're like, oh. And I wasn't making it very far. I had only made it about another 15 minutes, and I started going, I don't know if I can do this. I was on the verge of giving up because I'm like, this is asking and demanding more of me than I think I can give. And it was my friend who had climbed the mountain before that came as our guide. He said, Noel, you walk with me. Now, he wasn't saying, hey, walk alongside and we're going to chit-chat as we kind of go and maybe pass the time like that. No, I walked behind him. And this is a well-worn path, but he would take a step, I would take a step in the same spot. I would listen to him breathe, and I would breathe like him. I was like getting ready to be hyperventilating. I'm like sucking in air, and you're going up, the air's getting thinner. And so I listened to the rhythm of his footsteps, and where he put his feet, I put my feet. As he breathed, I breathed. And I didn't look around. I had my head down. And I'm just seriously, my whole world, I'm on a gorgeous mountain. Every step is giving me a more beautiful view of the landscape. And all I could do was to watch his steps and step where he stepped. Breathe as he breathed. We yoked ourselves together. And suddenly, I don't know how. I was still tired. My legs were still kind of working, but it just kind of fell into a rhythm that I'm like, this is sustainable. I can do this. And I'm going up this mountain, still hyper-focused right on him. And I began to climb this mountain, this 14,000-foot mountain, only because I had yoked myself with someone who had walked it before. And said, what you do, I'm going to do. And I found it worked. That's what Jesus is inviting us to when he says, take my yoke upon you. Learn from me. I'm here in this. I'm not up here, out and way and above and going, good luck. Or you better get it right. I'm going to be the official. What's beautiful about this picture, he goes, I'm right there with you. Take my steps. Find my rhythm. Breathe as I breathe. And you will find that you are You're made for this. What's incredible about this is that Jesus then goes, not, boy, I'm the smartest and I'm the greatest and man, I'm so awesome. You should just follow me. Why should we yoke ourselves? Because I am gentle and humble in heart. Okay, I want you to forget whether you believe this stuff or not. Let's just say you're a bunch of stinking atheists, all right? You didn't believe any of this stuff. Think of that. Think of that. If somebody dared to write this down of going, the God of the universe, in the form of Jesus, the God of the universe says, follow me because I am gentle and humble. Whew. Those are the last two words that we would ever use with the God of the universe, wouldn't it be? If this was true, this would be the most amazing thing ever. We believe it is true. This is his character. This is who he is. He's going, I had other people passing me up. I had other people in my group. They were so far ahead of me. They were like a mile ahead of me up this mountain. By the time I was coming up to Lake Helen, they were coming down. They were done. And let me tell you, they were so supportive and encouraged me in so many ways of going, you look like death warmed over. They belittled me, but not my friend. He said, step as I step. You're doing good. Come with me. It's all right. It's time for a rest. And we'd take a break and we'd sit down and then we could look at the landscape and the sun was starting to come up and you could see it sweep over the mountains. It was gorgeous. It's powerful moments. And then we'd begin again. And there was never a time where I went, hey, I got this. I figured this out. Every time we restarted, I fell right in behind him directly. Nobody ever got between him and me. As he stepped, I stepped. As he breathed, I breathed. And we went up this mountain. That's what Jesus offers. He goes, I'm not here to bash you. I'm here to help you. I'm here to be with you. There's a powerful passage in Hebrews that talks about that this high priest, Jesus, he sympathizes with us. He's faced it all. He's climbed the mountain. He's felt the weight of life. Yet he was without sin, but he doesn't hold that against us. He goes, you know what? Because I've been in your shoes, come to me. Find the grace and the help and the mercy that you need at exactly the right moment. He's gentle. He's humble in heart. We eventually made it all the way from Horse Camp up to Lake Helen, about halfway up the serious climbing part of it. This is a picture of Lake Helen. This is where the serious climbers camp. I can't believe somebody has a teepee tent. They have dome tents up there. The wind's blowing at like 40 miles an hour steady. You don't see it here, so the other side of this is the downside. You come up around here, there's another wall, a wall that's been built out of snow that's just to the left of this picture. The wind's blowing so hard we had to sit down and put our backs against it because it was blowing terribly. It was picking up the snow and the ice, and it was blowing so hard it cut your face. And I was like, well, I don't want to give up yet. We sat there, and after about a half an hour, 45 minutes, it wasn't backing off. Time was spending away. I'm like, we're going to make it. Let's go do it. Let's just do it. I've made it so far. I was excited by this point of going, I can do it. And my friend went, no, we can't. We've got to stop. See, in my exuberance, I could have made another terrible mistake here and continued on and put myself into grave danger. Before it was just kind of silly walking around. I could have put myself into grave danger. But he goes, you're with me. You're not with the mountain. And it's time for us to go back down. And so, no, I have not yet climbed Mount Shasta. We had to turn back because the weather turned bad and became dangerous. And I only made it halfway up. But I was with the right person. Isn't that what Jesus is offering us? He goes, take my yoke, learn from me. I'm gentle, I'm humble, and you'll find rest for your souls. We take rest as meaning, oh, it's all going to be easy. No, I was disappointed. There's going to be trials in life. But Jesus is giving this in reference to an Old Testament passage. It comes from Jeremiah 6. The Lord says, stand at the crossroads and look. Ask for the ancient paths. Ask where the good way is and walk in it, and you will find rest for your souls. If we only read this, we might go, hey, you know what? Maybe Buddhism's got the right answer. Maybe Islam, or maybe someplace else. Another plan that works for me. But Jesus says, no, I am the way. I'm the truth. I'm the life. Be with me. And so when we talk about doing these spiritual disciplines, it's not a plan. It's a person. We do these things so that we can connect. That's the whole point. We're not trying to impress God. We're not trying to earn his favor, just like Val was talking about. It's about establishing that connection. That's what it's always been about. Come to me, and you will find rest for your souls. In Jeremiah's day, the people replied, we won't do it. We won't. That's the question before you. Jesus offers himself, come to me, walk with me, step as I step, breathe as I breathe. Will you just continue to do your religious stuff? Or will you build that connection? Let me finish with this. This is that passage in the Message. Are you tired, worn out, burned out on religion, have no strength left? Come to me. Get away with me and you'll recover your life. I'll show you how to take a real rest. Walk with me, work with me, watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Keep company with me, and you'll learn to live freely and lightly. Let's pray. Jesus, it seems like an awesome thing that what you would offer is yourself. You don't come to show us up or to beat us down, but to give us the strength and the empowerment to move on, to rest in your strength, to rest in who you are. Lord, many of us are struggling with things in life, and man, we're not sure where our energy is going to come from. I pray that you would help us to turn to you in a new and fresh way, not just in words, but in practice and deed, and pursue you and seek you. And make that a cornerstone of who we are.